Blessings, Halftime TV viewers and subscribers. Welcome to another episode, and in this one we'll be doing a preview for the Jamaica versus Trinidad and Tobago game. Now, this one will be played in Trinidad and Tobago, and expect the Trinidadians to be behind their team 150%. I know Dwight Yorkie hasn't had the best of starts to his tenure as coaches of Trinidad and Tobago, but nonetheless, when it comes to football and when it comes to sports in general, the Trinis, they are always behind their team. Now, Jamaica, on the other hand, we're going through somewhat a crisis back home, and I know a lot of the footballers, they will have family members and they'll have friends who were impacted by Hurricane Melissa. And having said that, if you want to contribute to our GoFundMe, which is basically aimed at getting some supplies to folks who are impacted by Hurricane Melissa, you can check out the description in this video. We've put the link there so folks can contribute or donate towards the GoFundMe. Now back to the football. So Jamaica, we have a very strong team going into this one. We have included Rico Henry, which is the Brentford standout wingback. I think it's one of those where it's good to have him in the national team setup, but will Steve McLaren throw him straight in? I personally do not think so. But for now, Trinidad and Tobago versus Jamaica is always a competitive game. We played them in the Unity Cup a couple of months ago in England. We also played them in a couple of friendlies in Jamaica as well. And regardless of the 11 that goes out there, it's always a riveting encounter. It's always swashbuckling. It's always one of those encounters where you have to be on the edge of your seat, because we know how it is. It's always a rivalry, and with the stakes so high this time around, expect it to be no different. Now, Jamaica currently sits on 9 points, top of the table. Trinidad and Tobago is on 5 points, and they're in third place. So the maximum points that Trinidad and Tobago is able to get at this stage of the competition is 11 points. If they win their remaining 2 games, they will be up to 11 points. Jamaica, on the other hand, maximum points that they're able to accumulate is 15. So if they win Trinidad and Tobago, that will take them to 12, and then the final game against Curacao, that will take them to 15. But as I said, it's still all up for grabs, because Curacao in the other game will be playing against Bermuda, and we know Bermuda is a team that everyone has beaten so far, basically. So we expect Curacao to win that game, and if Curacao wins it, that will take Curacao back to the top of the table if Jamaica fails to win their game against Trinidad and Tobago. Now, what are we to expect from this particular game? Jamaica has been on a good run in the last 4 games in World Cup qualifiers. As a matter of fact, they've actually won all but one, and that was the one that they lost against Curacao a couple of weeks ago, well, in the last international break. Trinidad and Tobago, on the other hand, it's been kind of stop-start. They've gotten they draw, they lose, and they win. So they've won the game against Bermuda, but outside of that, they got a draw against Curacao in that final game of the last international window, which ultimately got Jamaica back on the top of the table. This time around, the game will be played in Trinidad. As I said before, we expect it to be competitive. As far as quality goes, Jamaica has the better quality players, and even in the absence of the likes of Leon Bailey, we still have enough in this squad. And Coach Steve McLaren came out and even spoke about it, saying Shamar Nicholson, he thinks, is the best striker in the Caribbean. But based on quality, Jamaica is a better team. Quality goes through the window when it comes down to games like these. We like to call them a derby. Yeah, we want to think of this as a Caribbean derby, because Jamaica versus Trinidad and Tobago, it always promises to be exciting. Now, some key players to look out for in the Jamaican team: Isaac Hayden, because the midfield is somewhere that Jamaica always struggles, and this time around, based on the squad that was named, very thin midfield, if we're to be honest with ourselves. And I'll go through the midfield options that Jamaica has. We have Isaac Hayden, Bobby Reid, Jonathan Russell, Karai Anderson, and Joshawn Anglin. So again, thin midfield. It's been the order of the day, and I think Steve McLaren, based on this lineup, has resigned to the fact that, hey, we don't have the best of midfielders, and basically I'm just going to put some folks in there to basically say we have midfielders on the pitch. I think a lot of the play will be bypassing midfield. Looking at the defenders, Joel Latibodier, Ethan Pinnock, Richard King, Lemby Kisa, Greg Lay, Damian Lowe, Rico Henry, Mason Holgate, and Ian Frey. And then the same thing goes for the forwards. But because the midfield has been bypassed, we've seen where Coach Steve McLaren has usually put out strong defenders, and in saying strong defenders, we're seeing the likes of Damian Lowe off late sitting on the bench as Richard King and Ethan Pinnock have been his preferred starting pair for the last couple of games. In the forward line, we have Whisper, he's back, Tyrese Campbell, Kadama, Trey Shamar, Nicholas, Romain Burrell, he's back in the national team. And speaking of Romain Burrell, he's one of those players who has had joy against Trinidad and Tobago. As a matter of fact, he scored on his debut against Trinidad and Tobago. Lujan Richards, his first goal for Jamaica came against Trinidad and Tobago as well, and the same goes for Kahim Dixon. So we have a couple of players in this setup who they enjoy playing against Trinidad and Tobago, and I think the coach will be using that bit of statistics to his benefit to ensure that these players get some minutes against the Trinidadians. Other players to mention, we have Warner Brown, Ronaldo Cephas, Demari Gray, he's back with the team as well. But overall, the Jamaican national team, very strong team, bar that midfield that I mentioned a little bit earlier. And overall, I think when it comes down to games like these, it's always who wants it more, because regardless of the names that you put out there, regardless of the players, regardless of what you want to say about who can do what on what given day, I think if you go out there and you do not show that you want it, players like Spicer for the Trinidad national team, they will punish you. And I know that these players, they want to prove themselves. I know that these players, they've been tired of the comparison with the Jamaican national team. As the World Cup qualifiers continue, we've seen where Jamaica is constantly adding players to their roster. They're constantly looking for better players to improve the national team. Nothing's wrong with that, but Trinidad and Tobago, they are not afforded that luxury, and we've found that less players are coming into the Trinidad national team when compared to Jamaican national team from the English Championship and from the English Premier League. So I think Jamaica has a better crop to call from than Trinidad and Tobago, and it shows in this squad selection that Steve McLaren has. And there are a number of other players that are currently lined up and expected to join the national team, or at least expected to put in an application to be a part of the Jamaican national team roster if and when we qualify for the 2026 World Cup. But bar that, let's get back down to the predictions. I think Jamaica will win this game 2-0. I think it will be a very difficult 2-0 game, though I don't think it will be one of those where Jamaica is in full control for 90 minutes. Although Jamaica seldom is. Of late, we've found that Jamaica has surrendered possession to the opposition on a number of occasions wherein they're happy to be without the ball. And in recent years, football hasn't been that. We've found where there's currently a shift back to the old days where people don't mind having less of the ball and doing their thing. But I don't see Jamaica going in that direction, really. I don't see an actual direction. But as I said before in previous videos, Steve McLaren has the players to bail him out of trouble 9 out of 10 times. So again, 2-0 in favor of Jamaica, and Jamaica will maintain their position atop this group against Trinidad and Tobago. I'm going to turn it over to you, the viewers and subscribers, right now to hear what your thoughts are. What are your predictions? Jamaica versus Trinidad and Tobago. This game will take place on Thursday, so look out for that one. It's World Cup qualification 2026, as Jamaica on 9 points, top of the table, and Trinidad and Tobago on 5 points, third in the table. Both are trying to qualify for World Cup 2026. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Halftime TV here saying until next time.